Ancient Greek tyrants and Byzantine dictators effectively used coinage as a propaganda tool to assert authority, legitimize their rule, and communicate key messages. By inscribing their names, titles, and portraits on coins, rulers like Antiochus IV Epiphanes, Julius Caesar, and Phocas clearly established their dominance, with epithets like God Manifest or Eternal Augustus reinforcing their power. Religious and mythological symbols such as Persephone, Zeus, or Venus were employed to suggest divine favor, while associations with respected figures like Alexander the Great or Germanicus bolstered legitimacy. Military victories and ideological priorities were broadcast through imagery, like Nike or battle trophies, and titles like Caracalla's Britannicus. Despite occasional contradictions, such as Phocas' claims of Victoria amid failure, coins' wide circulation and durability made them an efficient medium for shaping public perception and projecting strength, far surpassing monuments or messengers in reach and impact.
But throughout history, there have been individuals who had a special relationship with power. They wanted more, to exert more power over others, to always accumulate more power. Some simply were born in power and took full advantage of it to push their own objectives. These are the tyrants and dictators of history.
Make not my father's house an house of merchandise.
Picture entering a sacred space for prayer and divine connection, only to find a chaotic marketplace. Merchants shout, money changers call out rates, and coins clink amid commerce. This was the Jerusalem temple Jesus entered, sparking his fury. He overturned the money changers' tables, accusing them of making God's house a den of robbers. Why such a reaction? The temple's exploitative financial system, centered on the shekel, was to blame. The issue wasn't just merchants selling doves, but a system exploiting worshippers' devotion. The shekel, originally a measure of silver, about 11 grams, became a coin by Jesus' time, used in temple transactions. Worshippers had to pay a temple tax and make offerings with Tyrian shekels, deemed pure. Pilgrims with Roman denarii or Greek drachmas needed to exchange their money, and money changers set often unfair rates. A devout worshipper might find their money devalued, feeling scammed. This system turned the shekel from a tangible measure into a controlled currency. Tyrian shekel's value depended on temple authorities and money changers, not just silver content, allowing exploitation through skewed rates. Worshippers paid a premium to practice faith, a practice Jesus condemned as robbery. His den of robbers accusation targeted this financial racket: unfair rates, currency rules, and profiting off piety. Imagine a Galilean farmer or a widow losing money to inflated rates in a place meant for justice. Jesus' table-flipping challenged this greed, demanding the temple remain a house of prayer, not a marketplace monetizing devotion. These coins were often shaved so more coins could be produced with the same amount of precious metal like gold. Though, since coins were weighed for their value, this meant their reduced weight meant for less value. Truly, money had been corrupted for a long, long time, and I suspect Jesus flipped those tables for more reasons than simply keeping the temple a house of prayer. One might add an additional reason for Jesus' attempted murder. His getting involved with the currency and bringing attention to its theft-like nature could have had more to do with his eventual crucifixion than most realize. This happened all throughout history. The coming wealth transfer and debt forgiveness was something to be implemented in the past. However, various beneficial changes to the financial system was stopped for fear of the resulting loss of control over what would be a prosperous and free populace. In 1963, President Kennedy tried to stop illegal financial activity and bring wealth to the people of the world through the Green-Hilton Agreement. This agreement would have allowed the United States, as the holder of the international reserve currency, to print a new gold-backed currency using assets from the collateral accounts to boost economic development. On June 4, 1963, President Kennedy signed Executive Order 1.1.1.1.0, which aimed to strip the Federal Reserve Bank of its ability to loan money to the United States with interest, and required a bullion-backed currency issued by the U.S. Treasury instead of the Federal Reserve Bank. Shortly after, $2 and $5 notes backed by silver were issued with United States note instead of Federal Reserve note. Certain elements within the world's elite could not let this happen, and thus Kennedy had to go. Most likely, Kennedy was murdered by the CIA in 1963 for attempting to print gold and silver-backed certificates, and for setting up a gold-backed international reserve currency. During the Civil War, in 1861, Lincoln approached Rothschild-controlled banks in New York to raise money, but was quoted an insane user's interest rate of 24 to 36%. In response, Lincoln ordered the U.S. Treasury to print debt-free money in 1972, later known as greenbacks, because of the green ink on the back. The U.S. Treasury Department reportedly computed that this saved the government nearly $4 billion of interest. Lincoln stated, "We gave the people this republic the greatest blessing they ever had, their own paper money to pay their own debts." By opposing the Rothschilds and printing the greenbacks, English bankers had signed President Lincoln's death warrant. So, they hired John Wilkes Booth to assassinate Lincoln. After the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Farmer Claims lawsuit, a four-star U.S. Army general somehow received title and receiver of the original 1933 United States bankruptcy. The Supreme Court ruled in his favor, giving the Army general title over the United States Inc. This general was imprisoned, killed, and replaced with a clone. This happened while incarcerated despite being protected by his military personnel. The clone was then used as a decoy to prevent any further claims from being filed during the first Clinton administration. In agreement with the Supreme Court ruling on June 3, 1993, Janet Reno ordered the Delta Force and Navy SEALs to Switzerland, England, and Israel to recapture trillions of dollars of gold stolen by the Federal Reserve System from the strategic gold reserves. These nations reportedly cooperated because their debts owed to the United States would be canceled, and the individuals who stole money from the U.S. had also stolen from them. This bullion was intended for the new currency backed by precious metals, and was supposedly stockpiled at the NORAD complex and other repositories. Janet Reno's actions so enraged the powers that be that it resulted in her death. She was then replaced with a clone. This clone was responsible for covering up various Clinton scandals. In regards to Nasara, there was a strict gag order placed upon politicians, media personnel, and bank officers, with the U.S. Supreme Court ordering members of Congress to deny its existence under threat of treason charges. Minnesota Senator Paul Wellstone was about to break the gag order. However, before he could, his small passenger plane crashed, killing his wife, daughter, and himself.
Now, so don't call it a comeback.
As you already know, the assassination attempts on President Trump have failed despite his role in bringing Nisara/Kassara about. Doubtlessly, it was this motivating most of this extreme action. Not only has the King of Kings, King John Smarty, predicted what is proving to be his obvious divine protection, it is he who pushes the necessary energy and unseen forces that is truly driving the wealth transfer and the true coming golden age. Many different coins have come and gone. The currency of the future has already been released. It is the King's currency, D-Blue, healing frequency infused and backed by real assets and Source himself. The rainbow currency so many are looking for is already here. Listen well, there truly is no stopping what is coming. The light shall rise and the dark shall fade away.
And this is coming from Redemption Center leaders, and one of the leaders is over 7 redemption centers.
The money is already in the accounts. Banks confirm today is a historic day. We address the entire Company of Heaven community with absolute certainty. We have reached the decisive moment. All banks have activated the payment protocol.
What I want to impress upon you is that Iraq did what they were supposed to do last Sunday, which is their first business day, and they brought out a new rate, and they passed an amendment to their budget, and everything appears from Iraq's perspective to be a go right now. The currencies that we have, and there are going to be 17 currencies that are going up substantially in value. We got word with a call through the Treasury Department that these rates on dinar and dong are going to go up substantially